Hey reefers, today I'm servicing a reef tank that we inherited about 2 months ago. Some of the issues we've dealt with are nuisance algae and pest anemones. Now, as you can see here, we have Majanos, and to the top left on that rock, you can see it slowly being taken over by aiptasia. So a lot of newcomers to the hobby might not know or be able to identify Majanos as a nuisance algae because they could look like a desirable coral or like a small bubble anemone. But trust me when I tell you, they spread extremely fast, and both Majanos and aiptasia can quickly take over a tank and outcompete coral for real estate. And both pack a potent sting that will kill most coral. So we have a lot of Majanos to deal with here. They already caused a good amount of damage in this tank already, killing off several zoa colonies. They killed a favia. They even killed off a Duncan colony. So we need to take care of this in a relatively quick manner. The customer is getting frustrated because he's invested a lot of money in coral in this tank just to watch it slowly die over time from being stung. So you can imagine the frustration that he's feeling, and he just wants to get this tank back to where it was before and just enjoy the hobby again. You can see that Duncan coral right there is barely hanging on. He had some Majanos surrounded him that were just stinging him. Rocks are still covered with a little bit of cyano, some algae. You can see that rock is just completely covered with aiptasia. Now, there used to be zoas right there, and from what I know, like I said, we just started servicing this tank. From what he said, that was covered with zoas, and the aiptasia just slowly took over. You can see where the Majanos are poking their heads through that zoa colony, and if left unchecked, they'll kill all those zoas right there. They're even going, they're even killing off these pallies, which is crazy to me. And you can see that favia was just, torched by the Majanos. He's dying back, so hopefully we can save him. Now, as far as the aiptasia, we've tried several aiptasia-eating foulfish in this tank. They've been hit and miss. We also added 5 peppermint shrimp, which are known to eat aiptasia. But you can see this little foulfish right here. He's going after the smaller aiptasia. A lot of times aiptasia fish don't necessarily always eat aiptasia. And if you feed your tank a lot of, especially frozen meaty foods, they could get spoiled and turn their attention more to that than the aiptasia. The other thing with them is they will turn their attention to coral. They will eat coral when they're done with the aiptasia. So as soon as they're done doing their job, either put them in the sump or bring them back to the fish store. So let's go ahead and begin here. I'm starting off using a dental pick to manually get off as many Majanos as possible. This works well with Majanos because, unlike aiptasia, the Majanos have a thicker and sturdier body. So I'm starting off by trying to get underneath it where the foot is and loosening its hold on the rock. Once the foot starts to release, you can use the dental pick to kind of nudge it and gently pull it off. As you can see, this can be tedious, but taking the rock out isn't an option in this tank. They are load-bearing rocks, and it would just cause too much of a disturbance in the tank, and the customer just doesn't want to do that. It's not an option for us. None of these rocks are epoxied in; they're not secure, so it would cause a whole rescape of this tank. So we're gonna have to do this in the tank. So as you can see, I'm starting to scrape it off that rock, and the good thing about once you get that foot, the foot is starting to release, kind of just pushing it off. And once you get it off, you can use that dental pick to kind of, it's got a very sharp point. You can kind of poke through that flesh and just pull them right out. So, I like scraping the foot as opposed to going through the mouth of the Majano. That's just my personal way of doing it. I find it works better for me. Getting them to release or forcefully pushing it off is less messy. And then, you just try to avoid them ripping. You can see this is where I went through the mouth, and it's shredding pretty bad. And I think just the better option is just kind of scraping away at the rock and just trying to find that base of that foot. And if you try to go through the side with the dental pick, you're just going to shred that. You can see he's just shredding right now. You're just going to tear them apart, and you really don't want that. Again, these picks are great because they really are good at getting to hard to reach places. So I'm just trying to see if I can get that foot to release a little bit. And then I'll start scraping underneath and finding where he's attached and just trying to get him off that rock. And like I said, that the pick is pretty sharp, so once you got him off, you can just stab him and bring him up no problem. So this is my first time using the dental pick, and you can see I've already gotten a decent amount off. So I say it works pretty well. You just have to really do your best to try to get the foot. If you try to go through the mouth, or if you try to go through the side, or if you're not patient, you're gonna shred it like I did here. Now, this is also hard because I am holding the phone in my one hand and trying to film as I'm doing this. But it can be easy. You know, they really sink that foot into the crevices of the rock, and it can be hard to get them off. Now the dental pick has two sides, and one side is a little bit more hooked than the other, and it's good for getting underneath ledges like this. It's crazy that you'd almost would think that this thing was made for this. The dental pick was made to get Majanos out of a tank, but when you have them hanging underneath a little arch like this, you know, it really comes in handy using this tool. I'm just trying to get his foot loosened. And as you can see, I've gotten that foot almost off. He's still hanging on by a little bit, but once you get him underneath, you just hit him with that pick and just pull him up. Now, so we got a decent amount out so far. You know, the dental pick definitely works. I say it requires, you know, patience and time, but be persistent, and you can begin to put, you know, a bit of a dent in the population of Majanos. And, like I said, it is tedious, but you can see right here, this is the proof, it works. So the other issue we've been dealing with in this tank is nuisance algae and cyano. We added tons of cleanup crew, hermits, snails, conchs, and they've done a great job so far cleaning and clearing up the rock. As far as the water chemistry, it's right where we want it. Nitrates are under 5, phosphates are low, calcium about 430, alkalinity 8.5. Fish are doing awesome, and overall the tank is healthy, and you know, that's always a good sign. All the corals that aren't being, you know, touched by the aiptasia or Majanos are all starting to, you know, come around and look good. You see, you know, we have the hammer corals fully out. There's that zoa colony that's not being bothered, it's fully out. That toadstool would look a little better if that clown goby wasn't always on it. It's got really beautiful green polyps. That bird's nest we put in here about, you know, 2 weeks ago or something like that, and it's slowly coming around. I'm hoping that favia can come back. Now we even have an acro in here that's doing incredibly well. You can see it's encrusting on the rock right there, so that's awesome. Excited about that. He does have aiptasia that's you know, approaching him, so we're gonna have to take them out so we can do well. So this is a week later, and still, you know, there's a lot of Majanos and aiptasia in this tank. You can see that, you know, they're still in the zoa colony. They're still, you know, on the arch of that rock. They're starting to sting that clove polyp. But the good news is the bird's nest is looking a lot fatter and healthier this time around, so I'm happy about that. You can see that the Majanos are surrounding that Duncan coral and just stinging it really, really bad. So let's help that Duncan coral out so we can begin to recover. Acro's looking good, growing well, but that aiptasia is getting closer and closer to him, so we're gonna have to address that today and make sure that we don't lose that acro. But again, the corals look healthy. The hammer's out, zoas are out. There's the toadstool's green polyps out. So I'm just going to take that Duncan out and just be, hopefully, he can recover once I use this dental pick to slowly push that Majano off the side of him. Just scraping him off. Just got his foot, it was relatively easy to get to. I'm just going to slide it right off and he'll be clear of that Majano and he will no longer be stung and hopefully he can recover. So I'm going to do a water change, a slight water change, and unfortunately I don't have too much time, so we're going to step up our game a bit here with dealing with these anemones. I can't keep using a dental pick; it takes a long time, and unfortunately we just not on this visit. We're going to try something a little bit different, so I'm excited. So this is aiptasia. It's my first time using this product, so let's go. So I'm just going to go ahead and hit all these areas of aiptasia, and we're going to see if aiptasia X will work on. We're also going to see if the aiptasia will work on the Majanos. So I'm really excited about this. This will be fun. Like I said, it's my first time using aiptasia, and I want to see with my own eyes how it does. We can hit those areas of Majanos by the Duncan coral so that he can begin to come back stronger. And we're going to probably try to hit a significant amount of these Majanos in aiptasia today. So it comes with a little 2 syringe tips, a straight one and a hook one for hard to get anemones. And we have to make sure we shake the bottle really, really well so it thickens. Give that a shake. I shook it for about 2 minutes. It's nice and thick, so it should be easy to use. And stay in the area where we need it. So aiptasia works, from my understanding, by almost burning and hardening over the aiptasia, kind of encasing it. So the one thing I notice about using this is the anemones don't seem to respond right away to it. They almost think it's food, so they don't shrink up too quick. I was able to get this guy pretty easy, and as you can see, it kind of stays on there. And it's got that, it comes with this little hook here, so any aiptasia that are underneath, you can hit them pretty well. So I'm doing my best to get it in its mouth, and going to just cover him as much as I can. It seems like to me that the aiptasia think it's food of some kind, and they're not closing right away, giving me some time to kind of hit them pretty, successfully. It comes out steady and it isn't making too much of a mess. It also hardens, rather quickly. I was surprised by that. And the curved tip allows you to really reach even the hardest to get aiptasia. There's something really satisfying about this. I don't know. I really like this. I don't want to get carried away. I just want to I don't want to use too much of it, but it's really satisfying hitting these aiptasia, and I really hope that this works. We're gonna hit this aiptasia right here that's approaching that leather coral. Get him right in the mouth. You see how he didn't even react before it was too late. I'm just gonna hit him as much as I can. Now I have the flow off. All right, so let's hit these aiptasia that were approaching this acro. Let's make sure that we don't lose this acro to this aiptasia, because they're getting awfully close. So I definitely want to make sure I hit them. Really happy with the way the acro is doing in this tank, and I don't want to lose him to aiptasia. So we're going to make sure that we create like a little bit of a force field around that. So here we go. Let's hit the Majano. I'm going to target this arch here. Got that sucker. I'm going to target this arch right here, and hopefully clear it. Also, by the way, make sure you turn off the flow to the tank, any type of flow, return, power heads, beforehand, to minimize corals coming in contact with the aiptasia. This stuff can burn your coral, so just be mindful of that. You want the water as calm as possible, and I'd say this stuff takes honestly about 30 minutes to harden. Now the Majanos seem to react a little bit quicker than the aiptasia did. I was able to completely cover that area that was being taken over by the aiptasia on that rock, and it's been about 15 minutes and it's already hardening. So I hit all the spots that I wanted to today, at least for this visit. I don't want to overdo it the first time using this product. Like I said, this is, again, I've just got this product. It just came new to the market, so I don't want to overdo it. It does raise your pH, so you gotta be mindful of that. And you can see it's still taking its time to harden, so we don't want too much of it in the tank. But so far, it was easy to use. Just make sure to shake it well, turn off your flow, and I'm really to see that the aiptasia accepted it, and it definitely smothered them. The Majanos, it was a little bit harder on the Majanos because they are bigger. But we'll see how it works. This beautiful jawfish right here. I love this fish. So that's it for today, reefers. I'm excited to see how well aiptasia worked, and I'll check back in about a week's time. If you want to keep up with the progress of all this and the process of it, you know what to do. Until next time.